He's been called big, sexy, and bold. Meet a journalist on a mission. Welcome to another episode of Conversations. This is the show where we talk about anything and everything and whatever is on my mind. These days, race is on my mind and also on the mind of a lot of Americans. I've said mine too many times. Meet my guest. You've seen him before, Jason Whitlock.
Carol, thank you for the introduction. I want to explain to people.
And you're single too.
I am.
Big, sexy, bold, black, single.
Big mouth, sexy opinion. People call me Big Sexy.
Sexy opinion?
Yeah, sexy opinions.
Okay,
yeah.
I got it wrong a little bit, but it's okay. It's all good.
It's good to be here.
Well, thank you. The last time you were here, we got rave reviews for our show. In fact, some people said we should put it on the road. I'm not going to put pressure on you, but tell us what you've been doing.
Well, mostly I've been preparing for the next step in my career, and I feel like I have those things worked out, and lawyers are working on things behind the scenes, and so hopefully here in the next couple of weeks or maybe a month from now, I will announce what I'm going to be doing next. But I've just been doing the same things that you and others have been doing, trying to figure out what's going on in America and why we have become so racially divided in an instant, and just, it's been a short time frame where we thought we were making all sorts of racial progress, and in 2008 we elect our first black president, and here we get to 2020 and we feel like we're on the verge of a race war. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come back on your show and talk with you today, Carol, is like I saw a movie on HBO that was clearly directed at young black people, clearly directed just at black people in general. And I've seen a lot of movies like the one I'm about to mention that are all trying to promote racial animus among black people. And so I saw the HBO came out with the movie Judas and the Black Messiah. And just for, as a Christian and as a black person, I'm like, wow, Judas and the Black Messiah. Who's this Black Messiah they're talking about? And who's the Judas? And it's a movie about Fred Hampton.
Yes.
Who was a leader of the Black Panther Party in Chicago for a very brief time. And this movie kind of celebrates him and sets him up as if he were going to be the guy that followed in the footsteps of Martin Luther King. And so I wanted to watch the movie, and I was blown away and disappointed with the message and the framing of the movie. Fred Hampton, a clear Marxist, a clear socialist, we're labeling someone who doesn't believe in God as the Black Messiah.
Well, it's so interesting to me that the socialists and Marxists, they were always using the black community, and they were connected with some of our black leaders. But at this moment, the Marxism is like taking over the community, and it's so clear to me that the progressive left, and I'm talking about the white progressive left, that they're behind all of this, and they're using black folks as usual to push an agenda that's destructive for our nation.
Well, not only destructive for our nation, but also destructive for black people.
Yeah, in particular, black people. Yeah,
and so that was the thing.
They're so racist.
Yeah, Carol, I don't think there's any question about it. And it's clever what they've done. They accuse everyone else of racism as a method to conceal their own racism. And I just think, again, as it relates to this movie, and there's a movie out called American Skin, I think that was put out by Netflix. All of these movies are portraying black life as if it's all centered around conflict with the police. And so I started asking friends of mine, like, well, hold on, man. Think about your life. How much time have you spent thinking about interacting, engaging with the police, having conflict with the police? How much actual time in your life have you spent doing that, as opposed to engaging with your wife or girlfriend, kids, church members, co-workers, parents, grandparents, aunts, nieces? I go, why are all our movies focused on us and the police, whereas if you're white, you get a big cross-section of movies that explore your relationship with your wife, explore your relationship with your kids, your co-workers, things like this. But every movie that seems to come out now, or a large segment of movies, all focus on black people and the police. And I've had very limited interaction with the police, Carol. I've been pulled over for speeding. I'm a speeder, but that generally takes 5-7 minutes. When I look at where my focus is and where most people, it's a intentional misframing of our actual existence to keep us focused on the police are our enemies and law enforcement is our enemy,
And you know the truth, that we are our own enemies, because if you look at the crime in the black community, the abortion rate, the culture that, is encouraging young people not to study, telling them that math is racist, to the extent that you have black leaders pushing that, we are our own worst enemies. And we really need to be talking about, what's taking place in the black communities, the culture that is killing us, and the people that are pushing an agenda that's so destructive.
Carol, just think about this. What if athletes, instead of running around their communities, arranging meetings between the police and black people in terms of how do we settle the conflict between blacks and police? What if athletes led a movement of, let's get young black boys together, black men and black women together, and how do we solve the conflict between us?
Wouldn't that be great?
Isn't that the conversation we need to be having?
Absolutely. And we're going to continue after this word from our sponsors.
Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain is made possible by Cooper Steel, a family-owned business that provides the steel fabrications for some of the greatest buildings across the United States. 60 years ago, Kenneth and Faye Cooper founded their company in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Cooper Steel believes in sponsoring Carol Swain because we believe, as she does, you build strong, you stand strong.
What started as a vision and now a nationally recognized and operated company that remains true to its founders' Judeo-Christian values and principles. Cooper Steel is committed to excellence, responsibility, and community. Cooper Steel's motto is, build strong, stand strong. They treat their employees and customers like family. Thank you to Cooper Steel for standing strong with Conversations with Dr. Carol Swain. Learn more about our generous sponsor at coopersteel.com.
I'm back with my guest, Jason Whitlock. Jason, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this? And I think we have a responsibility. And when I say we, I mean people like us who are black and we see what's taking place.
Well, one of the things I try to do, Carol, is just try to remain in the conversation and make sure that I'm in the flow of information that's being fed to young people so that I can use my platform to perhaps educate young black people and just the black masses on what are the elites trying to do to us. And why, and try to expose it. And that's one of the reasons why I normally probably wouldn't have watched that movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, but I was like, hold on, black people are watching this, it's directed at us. I want to be able to tell them what's going on, what the hidden messages are. Or I don't even know if the messages in this movie are hidden. They're trying to promote Marxism and socialism to black people. That's why they made this movie. That's why Fred Hampton was like 21 years old when he was killed. He was a member of the Black Panther Party for about a year. This guy had a cup of coffee of relevance. We're making him out to be this messiah, and it's just like, why? And so when I watched the movie, I was just like, the whole conceit, the framing of the movie is all wrong. I'll give you an example. The Judas character, the FBI that infiltrated the Black Panther.
Judas was black too in
Yes,
this movie.
he was a black guy that was working with the FBI to infiltrate the Black Panthers in Chicago. And so one of the things is just not framed properly here, because it's like, oh, it's Judas, what a sellout this guy is. Just think of this. And I went back and watched actual documentaries on Fred Hampton that were taped in the late 1960s to see what kind of rhetoric he and that group were spewing. They were talking constantly, publicly, about killing police. They were allowed themselves to be seen, photographed by the media with semi-automatic weapons and blah.
I remember.
And so I'm like, well, hold on. If you're talking publicly about killing the police, you're being shown with boatloads of semi-automatic weapons. Do you think the police aren't going to send someone in to investigate? Are these guys serious? They're talking about killing police. They're being shown with semi-automatic weapons. Of course they're going to send someone in to find out, are they serious? Are they planning something? And so the whole conceit that this is Judas and, oh my God, he sold out the Black Panther Party. I don't know of any group. I just think of yourself as an individual. If there's someone in your community talking about killing you, you're going to do some investigating on that. And not only that, where the movie really misframes things is that the Black Panthers in Chicago and Fred Hampton's group, they killed several police officers in shootouts. They harmed far more police physically. They killed 3 police officers and wounded like 11 others, all in 1969, in shootouts in July and November. And so I'm just sorry.
Did it make the movie, that part of it?
Not in a way that you really understood it.
They made it seem like it was justified.
Not only they didn't let you know that police were killed.
Really?
You could see that there were shootouts, but you had no real concept of what the time frame was, when this happened, and how many of them were harmed. I think in the course of those 2 shootouts, 3 police officers were killed and 11 were wounded. 1 Black Panther and maybe 4 other Black Panthers were wounded. So Fred Hampton gets killed in December. And I'm telling friends of mine, I was like, the scoreboard at that time between the Black Panthers and police was totally in favor of the Black Panthers. They had killed and harmed more police officers.
There you go, ruining everything with truth.
And so, of course, I can't say it was justified, but it's not shocking that the police were like, we're going to kill Fred Hampton. He's killed a bunch of us. He has to be stopped. And so to paint this guy as some sort of hero and visionary and messiah is just a joke. He was inarticulate, profane, atheist, and people have a right to be atheists. But I'm just sorry, for me as an African American, I just don't understand why we would embrace being atheist when, if you look at our journey, it's through the grace of God and through our faith that we survived and have thrived here in this country. And so this whole promotion of abandoning Christianity, of abandoning religious faith, and let's become
killing
Marxist.
our babies and defending Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Carol, you know what I say all the time now? Honestly, we have been trained to have a racist mindset about ourselves.
But we
the
also
KKK
racist.
lays,
Right.
no question, but the KKK lays back and just says, no, black people got this. We don't need to do anything. They got it. They think like us. We came up with the one drop rule and they've embraced it. We came up with the N-word and they've embraced it. We came up with killing black people indiscriminately in the streets and they've embraced it. What do they need to do? No wonder that we never hear about the KKK and they got to make up things. I say to people all the show me a Proud Boy. Have you ever met one? Are there any Proud Boys in your neighborhood? Have they come knocking on your door? Have the Proud Boys come to do any harm in your community? Now, I know Rachel Maddow and the media have told you the Proud Boys are the greatest threat to you in your life. You've never seen them. You couldn't identify a Proud Boy and hell, he might be black. But they come up with these little mythical people for you to be afraid of that you have no engagement of. You've almost lived long enough, but my parents certainly have. Like, they, down in the South where my family was from Kentucky, they actually saw the KKK. The KKK actually came to their door. It was a real threat. The Proud Boys are some people that I think I've seen on TV, but I don't know any, and neither do any other black people.
Yeah, I've never seen a KKK member, but when I was a child, I used to find that literature in my neighbor's garbage. It's another story why I was in the neighbor's garbage. But we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more with Jason after this word from our sponsor.
Dr. Carol Swain's Be the People, a call to reclaim America's faith and promise, newly released in paperback and audio with a new introduction, is a challenge to all Americans. If you are serious about being the best citizen you can be, this is the book for you. From addressing moral relativism to reclaiming the future, you'll understand why Dr. Swain is one of the most relevant voices in today's culture war. Are you ready to reclaim America's faith and promise? Purchase at bethepeoplenews.com/books or wherever books are sold.
The Biden administration's executive order on immigration brings to the forefront one of the most volatile issues of our time. In this timely second edition of Debating Immigration, I join my voice to that of other experts to provide you with facts and information that will help you understand what is at stake for our nation. This edition offers 21 original essays that cover race, religion, economics, human smuggling, and civil rights.
Purchase at bethepeoplenews.com/books or wherever books are sold.
I'm back with my guest, Jason Whitlock. Jason, how should we view Fred Hampton?
Well, I think the accurate view of Fred Hampton is that he was a 21-year-old kid that had a very brief moment of relevancy, had embraced an ideology that doesn't really liberate or increase freedom for African Americans.
Or anyone else.
Or anyone else. But particularly, he's being portrayed as this black messiah, this hero for us. And I just don't see it. I see it as he should almost be looked at, because how he presented himself, as a rapper. He's no different really from Eazy-E or any of the members of NWA at that time that moved in or used police brutality as the currency to elevate themselves. And that is not to diminish the dangers, the harm of police brutality, particularly back in the late 1960s. But I think that like police brutality has been used over the course of the last 40 years as a distraction issue to stop us from ever addressing the most important issues in our community. And I go back to what I said and what we discussed earlier in the show, the conflict between us, black people, being able to work together, get along, patronize each other's businesses, work together, heck, at this point, just have marriages together. Those conflicts are what we should be focused on and trying to repair our relationship as black people. Repairing our relationship with police is way down the priority list. If we could get along, if we could work together, if we could patronize each other's businesses, educate each other, then we have a chance to move forward.
Well, let me ask you this, Jason. Do you think there's self-hatred in the black community and that's behind the behavior that we see?
Yes, but in conjunction or in addition to the self-hatred, there is a worship and a love of white people and white liberals in particular that we don't think.
They would deny that. Boy, would they deny that. But
Well,
we
how
see
could
them
they-
being so manipulated by the progressive left. And what's happening on the college campuses is tragic. What's coming out of the college campuses that's taking black people backwards when it comes to math and English and everything that's part of being educated.
But Carol, how can they deny the love and the worship of white liberals and you have an organization, Black Lives Matters, that's entire purpose is begging white people and white liberals to love us? You've seen them go out, get on your knees and say Black Lives Matter. They're telling white people this. And so that is them begging.
That's just power, though, a power ploy. And I think that the white progressives and the Marxists, that they really would like to have a race war. And one way to do that is to get black people so angry that our youth go out and they start, I mean, they're already killing each other and also other people. When you look at the violence rate, the crime rate, I think that what they are feeding people increases the likelihood of armed combat between groups like the Proud Boys and the blacks who are angry, thinking that white people have done all these things to them.
There's definitely truth in that, but I'm not sure the white liberals that I talk to. I'm not sure if they want armed conflict as much as they see themselves as the Most High. And,
Well, they definitely see themselves as the Most High.
and so
Always have.
Yeah, and so there's an arrogance in terms of like, and I want to be careful because.
And they're so racist. I mean, I've been in academia for 30 years, and the most racist people I encountered were the progressives.
They certainly have a superiority complex that, as it relates to us, we are pet animals for them. Dogs that.
They treat their dogs better.
Nah, because what they would argue is our dogs behave better than you all, so they deserve that better treatment from
Well-
us. If you behave like our dogs, we treat you as well as we treat our dogs. I really honestly believe that's the mentality. I've had some white progressive friends of mine that really do have an affinity for me, really do have a legitimate affinity for me, but really struggle with dealing with me as an equal or perhaps even their superior. Because I've had some younger white progressives who've worked for me. Great respect for my intellect, but could not follow my instructions. It just was an impossibility for them. And that's why I just go, they see themselves as the Most High. They don't believe in God, so they don't humble themselves to anybody or anything.
They have no moral constraints.
I'm not going to go there because
am.
I do think they have some more. The ones that I know have some moral constraints, but I just think when you're not willing to humble yourself to a higher power, to a God or whatever, that then places you in the position of you're the Most High, and that's what I see with a lot of progressives is a lack of humility and a belief that they are the Most High, and then I see black people.
I'm going to disagree with you here in the sense that if you look at the progressives that I know that are all into the environment, they don't believe that human beings are necessarily more important and higher than other life forms, and that we are equally on the same status. And so they have no qualms about making decisions that would kill human beings if it's going to advance, other species
Dogs,
on the planet.
Cats,
Yes.
frogs. Yeah. No, listen. They have rejected the teachings in the Bible. God didn't create us in His image to have dominion over everything else on the planet. They don't believe that, and you're right. So they certainly believe that
The ends justify the means,
a
and if some of
cat-
us die, that's
yeah,
okay.
But a cat and everybody else is equal to us on this planet, but still below the white liberal, because they're God. And again, when you don't have one, you elect yourself as one. And then what I see with a lot of black people is they have agreed to that. The white liberal and the white man is God. And that's why so many black people are comfortable rejecting every religious value that they have because of politics. And so respect for God, and again, a lot of black people consider themselves Christian and they believe in God, but their real God is the white liberal and it's the Democratic Party, and that's why it does Planned Parenthood, same-sex marriage, any of this, they'll throw it out the window, because the Democratic Party and white liberals said it was okay. And my God, at one point they anointed Barack Obama king, and so that really makes any of this stuff, we have to support from the Democratic Party. And so I see the white liberal as have appointed themselves God, and I see black liberals saying, yes, I agree with you, and they spend their entire life seeking the approval of white liberals. And I reject that. I want the approval of God, and I want other people who believe in God to have some respect for me. I don't have any animosity towards atheists. I really don't. But in terms of who I'm looking for approval from, God and other people who say they believe in God.
But Jason, thank you so much for cheering me up. I feel so much better after hearing this assessment.
Annihilating
And so
and we're going to be hated by white
the next time you're on the show, we're going to be positive, because we're going to have the remedy for Black America and for bringing everyone together. So I want to have you on again.
I know the remedy. You got a Bible somewhere? There's the remedy. I don't need to say anything. Just read the Bible.
We'll be back after this word from our sponsor.
For those of you who would like to know what exactly our children are facing in their education system, this is a must-read book. It will equip you and prepare you to make decisions about your child's health, about your child's education. So I want to encourage every one of you to grab a copy of Dr. Swain's book and join with me and Carol on the front lines in this critical time to eradicate the liberal abduction of our children.
Now, if I were politically correct, I would apologize for anyone whose feelings may have been hurt in this discussion, but I'm not politically correct. Jason's not politically correct, so we're not going to apologize. I want you to ponder the messages that you heard in this discussion, and I want you to think about what you can do to make a difference. And so if you're Black and you have, swallowed the liberal line, hook, line, and sinker, it's not too late for you. If you're a white liberal, you can get help. If you're a conservative, you're on the right path. But we will continue with engaging topics like this in other episodes of Conversations. So I hope to see you again next week.